Come inside.
Bruh.
Sit down.
There's no chair.
There you go. Let me tell you a story that'll make you believe in the God.
So, what's your name?
My name is Pasin Patel. The date is... I forgot what the date is. Who cares about that? Once upon a time...
More sentence structure variety. B1.
Who's that guy?
I don't know. I was part of 3 religions, but they all taught me the most important thing in life.
EQ. What is the most important thing in life? The most important thing in life is to realize that not everything goes as planned. Throughout life, people do not live in perfect harmony. There is always going to be conflict without a doubt. However, this is ultimately a positive aspect, for there is no good without bad. This idea is prominently shown in the novel. For example, Pi started out his life in Pondicherry, living and growing in a zoo with his family. He thought his life was going to play out as he expected, and he would take over his father's zoo and run the business. However, Pi's father unexpectedly announced that the family was moving to Canada. With Pi's previously tenacious mindset, this was a huge change. This clearly supports our interpretation of the essential question because Pi expected a planned out life in India, but a simple event turned his whole life around. This made him realize that not everything goes as planned. Another example was on the voyage to Canada. On a well-built cargo ship with many experienced employees, the trip was supposedly straightforward. However, the ship sailed straight into a storm, resulting in the ship sinking, with only Pi being able to reach a lifeboat in time, which already had animals on it. After the lifeboat drifted for a few days, Pi thought about giving up as there would be no rescue, but common sense prevailed as there was nothing left for Pi to lose. Therefore, this supports our answer to the most important thing in life because he realized that the trip wasn't going to be easy, and the ship unexpectedly sank. Also, Pi found an island while he was stranded. This place had lots of food for himself and Richard Parker, beautiful landscapes, and good weather. He thought that it was heaven. He believed it was the place he was going to stay for the rest of his life. However, Pi noticed that the place became carnivorous at night. The algae would produce deadly toxins, the water would boil to a dangerous temperature, and turn into poisonous acid. Even with all these negative factors in play, Pi continued to stay there for a while. It was only until he found another human's tooth that he decided to leave. This event showed that the previous individual who went there with the same circumstances died. This supports our claim because Pi expected to stay on the island safely, but it turned out the opposite. Things did not go as planned. Finally, after the trip, Pi had to part with Richard Parker. After 226 days of being stranded in the boat with the tiger, they formed a strong bond. Pi thought that he would stay with Richard Parker for the rest of his life, but the creature unfortunately left to live in a forest. In addition, the tiger left without a last nod of recognition or reaction for everything that they had gone through. He just left into the Mexican jungle without looking back, and Pi never saw him again. The tiger's departure shows that you can't always expect others to remember all the memories you had with them. Also, when Pi was younger, his father told him that tigers were dangerous. With this in mind, Pi would never expect that tiger would be his best friend. This supports our claim because a danger became a miracle that saved Pi's life. In all, the most important thing in life is to realize that things do not always go as planned.
Anyways, the story is not making sense. Where did it all begin?
Well, once upon a time... I was always bullied and roasted by savages, my classmates.
No, 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 no. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
Eventually, I had to stand up for myself.
Hi. Come up there and write your name.
Hello, my name is Pi, pronounced like the dessert and the mathematical term.
Hey bro, check out my mixtape, man.
Free.
Let's go! For free! Let's go!
2,000 years later.
And that's my name. Pie.
Well, what is the importance of this tiger in your story?
Son, come here. We got a new tiger. Oh, no way.
What up? MTV Tigs? What's up? Let's go! Look at that couch!
That's a nice couch.
I know! Very light!
Let's stop another one.
Made of air, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the Air Jordan, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, get that out of here.
Oh, you see, this is my plant, you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew from a baby. You know, see, it's very strong. Should I rip it out? It won't come out. Oh. Oh.
What? Oh, that's not how it goes. This is how it really goes. Here, you see a wild tiger doing his natural dances. I'm going to sound them.
Well, what is the importance of this tiger in your story?
My father showed me that the world is more dangerous than I thought. Can I go see the tiger?
No. Look, tigers are very dangerous. Look what they can do to this orange.
Oh, for free? Thank you.
Bruh.
You see, some tigers are very dangerous. Okay, I have an announcement to make. We are going to sell our zoo and move it to Canada.
Huh? Canada? More like, can you not, duh.
We're going to sail like Columbus.
You can only take one pet. Which pet? The cat or the dog?
What? But Columbus was trying to sell to China. Few weeks later, we were off to Canada. It started in a cargo ship. I cannot believe we brought so many animals. Look, there's a mouse in my bed. Oh shit! Okay. God, if you're really here, make it rain more.
Make it rain, tree. Make it rain, tree.
Hey, wait, this is flooding.
What? Huh? Wait! Are you okay?
I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Do you have any last words that you'd like to tell me?
What are those?
Goodbye, my friend. At least you died on fleek.
Tone. The tone of this novel is motivational. Throughout the whole course of the novel, Pi was motivated to do anything he could to survive. He displayed this passion to live when he trained Richard Parker to behave in the lifeboat. In order for Pi to work freely, he needed the tiger to get out of the way. Without Richard Parker as a distraction, Pi could do work efficiently by writing out what supplies he had, and if he could build a raft with his available materials. Tamed, Richard Parker was no threat and Pi could work in peace. This showed that Pi was determined to survive because no one would train a 450-pound Bengal tiger on a lifeboat in normal circumstances. Another example where Pi was motivated to live was when he abandoned his Hindu habits and started to eat meat when he was stranded on the ocean. To survive, he needed to feed both himself and the tiger. When someone in his dire straits, they would do anything they would to survive. This shows that Pi was willing to break his religion's boundaries in order to survive. He was motivated to eat meat to keep him alive. A third illustration of Pi's motivation was how he left that algae island. Even though he could have stayed there his whole life, once he found out that another human being had died on that island, his realization scared him back into reality. If he continued to live on the island and eat meerkats and algae, he would end up like the dead guy, and no one would know who he was and what happened to him. All that would remain would be his teeth. Pi didn't want to leave a legacy like that, so he abandoned the carnivorous island and his bountiful resources in search of land. He was determined to make it and accomplish his ultimate goal or die trying. This motivation is the kind you need to survive the most difficult situations and also complete your missions. Leaving the island showed Pi's total motivation to survive and make it back to Canada in order to completely conquer his unfortunate luck of getting stranded by himself in the Pacific Ocean. In all, the tone of the novel was motivational.
Okay. Wait, what about Mummy and Abhi and Ravi? I have to go back. Oh no. At that moment, I knew my family was dead. Oh, there's a person! Hey, look at me! Oh no, that's a tiger, man. Oh no, I'm going back. I'm alive! Yes!
Me too!
Whoa, there's a downstairs too? Oh, the manual. Huh. Looks like I have enough resources to build a decent raft. Theme. The theme of this novel is to never lose hope. Honestly, this idea should be prominent in everyone's lives because it leads to undeniable success. For example, after a treacherous shipwreck, Pi was left stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and witnessed his own family die. Pi could have easily lost all faith. Fortunately, his will to survive allowed him to persevere no matter what. This initial step allowed him to plan out how to overcome the situation, which ultimately allowed him to make it out alive. Also, when Pi was trying to train Richard Parker, he met plenty of difficulties, such as teaching Richard Parker to stay on his side of the boat. Pi had enough reasons to stop training Richard Parker. However, he still trained Richard Parker to respect him as the alpha male. This shows that the theme of this novel is to never lose hope because Pi faced his childhood fear, just to keep himself and Richard Parker alive. Honestly, this requires lots of determination. After all, training a tiger on a boat in the middle of the ocean is not easy. Another instance was when Pi almost gave up. As a religious individual, he looked up to God and prayed routinely. In fact, in his daily agenda, he mentioned praying every few hours. This supports our interpretation of theme because Pi held true to his beliefs. In addition, when Pi arrived at the island and found the tooth, he believed that he would also end up like that. This caused him to get his hopes up again, and he pushed the boat off the island and back into the ocean. This would later prove to be the right choice, because Pi eventually docked at Mexico where he was given medical care and treatment. In all, the theme of Life of Pi is to never lose hope. There's food too! I can definitely build a raft to get away from that rabid tiger. I don't think this raft is working.
Round one, fight.
and the orangutan are dead. Yes! But where's Richard Parker? Now that the zebra and the hyena and the orangutan are gone, I need to assert my dominance in order to become the alpha. Look at me. Hey, look at me. I am the captain now. Welcome to Pi's training camp, where I'm going to train you. I want you. I need to assert my dominance in order to become the alpha. Hey, look at me. Am I the captain now?
It's 2016. We've introduced our new flagship device, the iRonely. It comes with several features like the...
You have to do a British accent. The British.
British. I speak a Chinese. The situational irony, the verbal irony, and the dramatic irony. With its new sleek design, you are guaranteed to get an A1, and I hope that Mr. Rowe will see to it.
Situational irony. There are many instances of situational irony throughout the novel. One particular example is when Pi is told not to go near the tiger because he is uncontrollable and dangerous. However, as the story progresses, Pi develops a liking for Richard Parker and tries to tame him. Although he was initially hesitant and was even told not to by his father, Pi goes against his instinct and believes the tiger is much more than a violent beast. In fact, he mentions that Richard Parker saved his life by keeping him alert. This represents situational irony because Pi befriends the tiger even though it is contrary to what he originally learned. Next, it is ironic that Pi practices 3 religions: Christian, Hindu, and Muslim. Although he was just a kid, this did not make any sense because his beliefs contradicted each other. For example, in Christianity, there is only one God, but in Hinduism, there are multiple gods. This is situationally ironic because we expect Pi to follow his family's footsteps in religion, but he practices 3 distinct religions instead. Dramatic irony. In the novel, a few pieces of dramatic irony were definitely shown. For example, when Pi fell in the lifeboat, he thought he saw another stranded person. He held out his oar for the person to grab on, only to realize that this person was a tiger. This is dramatic irony because we knew that the person was actually a tiger, while Pi did not. Another instance was when Pi's parents named their son Bisan Malater Patel. At first, you can understand that being named after an exotic French swimming pool was not too bad. However, Pi started to get bullied because people referred to him as Pissing. This is dramatically ironic because we know that he has a strange name, but Pi does not realize until later. Luckily, he managed to find a way to exemplify his name in a more appropriate and suitable way. Next, when Pi explained his story to the reporters thought he was lying. Although we can agree that a story about being stranded in the middle of the ocean with a tiger is a little bit outrageous, the reporters didn't believe the truth. Unfortunately, they settled for a completely different, less appealing story. This shows dramatic irony because we knew what the real story actually was. Verbal irony. Several pieces of verbal irony are presented in Life of Pi. One example was when Pi's father told the family that they were moving to Canada and said, "We are going to sail like Columbus." This is ironic because Columbus was looking for India. He basically contradicted his previous statement, which is undoubtedly ironic. Next, after several months of being in the boat, Pi exclaimed that he was ready to die. Even though he verbally said this, he did not mean it since he never stopped persevering. This is verbal irony because although he said that he was ready to die, his actions showed otherwise.
A few moments later.
I think I was hallucinating a little, but I couldn't tell. I was blind. Hey, French guy, what's good, man?
Hey, what's up, Pi? Dude, I was on like the Titanic.
Wait, you said the Titanic? Huh? I see you. Okay. I got a free tiger.
Oh my god, no way! That's insane.
But what about you?
My boat sunk. What are you doing out here?
I can't see.
A few moments later.
Hey,
man,
bye.
good. Hey.
That's good.
Dang it. Hey man, let me introduce you to Mr. Richard Parker over here. Hey.
Oh, hello, Mr. Richard Parker.
It was at this moment that he knew. He up.
Look at his lips!
Okay, this story is not coming together. What are you doing? This is a crabby story. The story seems like shellfish. This doesn't make any sense. I don't see where you're going with this. I'm not sure.
You don't understand. Let me explain. I think I was hallucinating a little, but I couldn't tell. I was blind.
Oh, now I see.
3 weeks later.
Hey, I found an island. Look. Wrong one. Next. Hey, check it out, Bikini Bottom, man. That was good. Nope. Next. Okay, that's enough. Yeah. Look at this. Fresh water. And food. For my liking. This is gonna be fun. It's a wild tooth. The poor soul before me must have died here. The island must have digested him. Pie's guess was motivated by achieving his goal. In the story, the author, who was not given a name, seeked a story about a miraculous and thought-provoking journey of faith. As a struggling author looking for a story to boost his career, he wandered the world in search for the perfect idea for his book. His quest led him to Pondicherry, India. One day, the author visits a coffee shop and he meets a man with whom he shares his goal and is redirected to Pasin Patel, a man with a story that would make him believe in God. Afterwards, the guest calls around and eventually locates Pasin and arranges a meeting with him. Pasin tells him his life story and does in fact make him believe in God's existence. This shows that stories have potential in changing someone's viewpoint of the world. In this case, the author got what he wanted. Pie was definitely motivated by his will to survive. During his boat trip to Canada, there was a storm that completely wrecked the ship, leaving Pie stranded in the middle of the ocean with no intention to live. As a mid-teenage boy growing up with no survival skills or superior reflexes, this whole process was overwhelming and incomprehensible. In addition, he lived a very relaxed and comfortable life, which sheltered him from the true dangers of the world beyond his village. However, he was determined to survive with whatever it took. For example, he had to abandon his religious beliefs and customs in order to eat a single raw fish that would only sustain for several days. This proves that he was willing to stay alive, even if he had to break the laws of his religion. Next, Pie was definitely motivated by Richard Parker. He did not want to be attacked or killed by the tiger. Using this as motivation, he decided to take action and train the tiger. While keeping himself safe, it kept him busy and gave him something to do, ultimately keeping him alive and motivating him to keep living. Pie also kept a diary throughout his journey to record the events he underwent, also creating something to keep his sanity on. This supports our claim because of the way Pie took control of the situation and was motivated him to survive. I realized I couldn't stay here forever, so I had to get back. After a few months, we finally managed to end up on the shore of Mexico. What the heck? Land! Oh my gosh! Look, it's Mexico! And guacamole! And fish tacos!
Hello, Mr. Patel. My name is Tomohiro Okamoto. I am from the Maritime Department in the Japanese Ministry of Transport. This is my assistant Atsuro Chiba.
Hey.
We have come to see you about the sinking of the ship Simpson, of which you were a passenger. Would it be possible to talk to you now? Today is February 19th, 1978. Case file number 250663 concerning the disappearance of the cargo ship Simpson. Are you comfortable, Mr. Patel?
Yes, of course.
We are very comfortable.
Once upon a time,
We don't believe your story.
So you don't like my story with animals, correct?
Yes.
So you want a story without animals, without a carnivorous island, without a random tiger. Okay, well,
The story still sucks.
but if there's anything I've learned, it's this one idea. The one idea that matters the most to me. The idea that always works. The idea that will never fail you. This idea is to never lose faith in yourself no matter what.